OV season is busy. Official visits are really going down, and the Oklahoma Sooners are pushing to go for the trifecta. 3 players that are pseudo Oklahoma players that are from here and are like this when it comes to being friends. And so the Sooners are hosting them for the Champ U Barbecue weekend. We'll recap it in more detail during our live stream. But I want to talk about these 3 players because I think the Sooners have a really good chance, because something happened yesterday that told me we probably got a good chance. So before we dive into that, I want to say what's up. I am your host, Jay. Welcome to Unfair Sports. Thanks for pulling up to the YouTube channel. If you've been here for a bit and you enjoy the content, just hit that like button. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. Lets people know I'm making a video that's actually about what we're supposed to be talking about. If you're new to the channel, hit the like, subscribe, and then hit the bell notification. That way you can get a notification on all of the great content that we're dropping. We're talking a lot of college football, especially OU football, and we're adding a whole bunch of teams on top of it. But we'll always be focused on our Sooners. And so in this video, we're going to dive into these 3 players: Caden Durham, Mikael Patterson McDonald, as well as David Stone, the 3-headed monster that the Sooners are really trying their hardest to pull in. And it looks like we may have a good chance because the tea leaves say something just recently happened, and we're going to dive right into that right now. And so let's talk about these 3 players. Let's talk about what happened that makes it look like we may land them. And then, I want you to jump in the comments and let me know what's your thoughts and how you feel about all of this. Actually, jump in the comments now. Think we got a chance of landing all 3? I do, but I want to know what you all think here in the community. And so let's jump into these players. Now, we've talked ad nauseum about players like David Stone. We've talked about Caden Durham a few times, but we haven't talked about Mikael Patterson McDonald yet. And so we're going to make sure that all 3 of those get some love, but really talk a lot about Kale because he's one of those players that he's got some talent. And honestly, I don't think he's underrated. I think he's getting a good amount of attention and he's moving up the board. So he's one of those players you want to keep your eyes on. And so during Champ U Barbecue weekend, Caden Durham pulled up, taking some pictures with Kale as well as David Stone. All of them are really good friends. Remember, Caden Durham actually lived in the Moore area, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he was in that area, and him and Kale as well as David Stone are pretty tight. And he came down, said that he was coming home, which means he's from Oklahoma. And, taking the pictures when you see him, he doesn't smile. Now, I saw a picture of his dad. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense because neither his dad doesn't smile in pictures either. But it was good seeing them hang out at Champ U, and it looked like they were having themselves a pretty good time. So, besides that, all the other stuff that was going on, it looked really good with Caden Durham. Looked like he had a good time. And there was this post that really jumped out to me. We'll talk about Caden Durham's speed and everything in a second, but this post here, when you see all 3 players together, talking about how they were tight since they were young, Just Sooners posted this up and it was fantastic on Twitter. And both Kale as well as Caden had to chime in on how tight they've been. And that to me is a good sign of solidarity. And I hope that the Sooners can leverage that as a reason to bring all 3 of them into Norman for, this 2024 class. Now, you got to remember this about Durham. Durham is, 5'9", 180 running back. We dove into him out of Duncanville, Texas right now. Consensus 4-star top 100 player in the country. But the big thing about him is that the dude is fast. Last year, he ran a 10.7 and 10.72, and I know he's ran faster than that. I think he had like a 10.4 or 10.5 most recently. I can't find the picture of it, but the dude can zoom. And because of that, the Sooners want another fast running back. You add him with the running back like Xavier Robinson out of Carl Albert, that's that thunder and lightning feel, especially because Zay can run like a 4.5 40 at his peak, and he's trying to slim that down to like a 4.4. God, could you imagine both of them? A big dude running that fast and a small dude that's just flying. I'm getting excited. Let me slow it down. So he's done his OVs and he's getting out doing his visits, which is what we want. We want our players to go see the world, make that decision. And when you make that decision, it be done. And so a lot of recruiting has gone into Caden Durham. We are competing heavily with LSU because of the track program. And good thing is Caden's been offered by both Oklahoma and LSU for track and field also. And so there's a good chance that, he's going to pick between Oklahoma and LSU, period. That's going to be the 2 schools, mainly because two really solid track programs and football programs. He can go pro at either. So the goal is to get him in Oklahoma and make him one of the centerpieces that can go pro and run track at the same time. And then you got the top guy here, David Stone. We all know Big Stoney. He's the one player that everybody wants, one of the top defensive linemen in the country. He is considered a consensus 5-star athlete, number 3 defensive lineman in the country by consensus. ESPN has him the number 1 defensive lineman in the country. So that tells you that he is something special. He's based out of IMG Academy in Florida. We know he is definitely a top 5 player by composite in the country, and we've seen his ability to play. And Stone is getting the last set of his visits in. His final OV will be Michigan State midweek on the 23rd. And so by him wrapping things up here this month, there's a really good chance we can hear Stone make his final decision. And so we're going to cross our fingers and toes that the Sooners can win that one. I think the Sooners are the leader. There's a good chance that they will wrap this up and put a bow on it. Hopefully we can just make him put a bow on it before he even goes to Michigan State and wraps it up. So we'll see what happens. But the last player, Mikael Patterson McDonald, out of Westmoore in Moore, Oklahoma, this 5'11", 175 safety is really flying up some boards. Now, he's consensus 3-star player, and he's a lot better athletically than the rating sites are wanting to represent. But it was good seeing him hanging out with Stone as well as Caden Durham to try to see about wrapping this up. Now, this is the reason why I think things may be leaning in the favor of the Oklahoma Sooners, because similar to the way Jayshon Ross did not too long ago, there were a few crystal balls put in. Parker Thune over at OU Insider dropped a future cast for Caden Durham to come to Oklahoma. And then, of course, the Covered Wagon puts it out there on Twitter. If you follow them, you'll be able to see when those crystal balls predictions as well as future casts are put in. Caden Durham went in, he retweeted it, put it on his timeline. So usually when a player does that, the last one I mentioned to you all was Zion Kearney, wide receiver, one of the top 100, top 60 receiver players in the country. He did that, and a few days later, he committed to Oklahoma. And so I feel like Champ U Barbecue put a mark on Caden Durham, and he said that, yep, this is where I want to be. And there's a good chance that we're going to land him, I'm hoping, by the end of this week after he's done with his official visits. So keep your eyes out on Caden Durham with that. And if we land Caden Durham, I do feel like Mikael Patterson McDonald's going to follow. And then in the end, we'll get David Stone to go along with him in that package deal. They're all boys. They love each other. I think that'll be a big win. It's going to be a big win for Oklahoma. And the way things are leaning, the way the tea leaves are reading, Sooners are most likely going to win all 3 of these giants. And we're going to do nothing but continue to bolster this class. So hop in the comments. Let your boy know how you feel about the Sooners potentially winning these guys. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you are new to the channel or you've been here for a while, hit that like button as well as subscribe. Help your boy out with the channel as we continue to grow. So YouTube says watch one of these videos. We're going to talk about some other players, and we'll see you all soon. Peace.